You're listening to an African Elements top news story for June 24th, 2025. Please visit our website at africanelements.org for more daily news. Emmett Till's legacy, unfinished justice and monument battles. The brutal murder of Emmett Till in 1955 remains a searing wound in the collective memory of Black America and a pivotal moment in the nation's history. At the heart of this tragedy was Carolyn Bryant Donham, a white woman whose accusation against the 14-year-old black teenager set in motion the horrific events that followed. Donham, who was 21 years old at the time, accused Till of inappropriate advances and assault while he was visiting relatives in Money, Mississippi. Her background, while not extensively detailed in historical records, was intrinsically linked to the social environment of the Jim Crow South. This was a time when racial segregation and discrimination were enforced by state and local laws, creating a system of systemic oppression against African Americans. The accusations made by Donham against Emmett Till were central to the events leading to his murder. The exact nature of these alleged advances has been debated and scrutinized over time, with later accounts suggesting that parts of her testimony were fabricated. Emmett Till's brutal murder and his mother's courageous decision to have an open casket funeral had a profound and immediate impact, galvanizing the nascent civil rights movement. Mamie Till Mobley's insistence on an open casket funeral for her son was a pivotal act that profoundly impacted the movement. By allowing the world to see the horrific extent of the violence inflicted upon her son, she transformed a private tragedy into a public indictment of racial injustice. The widely circulated images of Till's mutilated body, particularly in Jet magazine, served as undeniable evidence of the brutality of white supremacy, shocking the conscience of many and mobilizing support for civil rights. Historians widely recognize the murder of Emmett Till in 1955 as a turning point in modern American history, propelling the civil rights movement. This public outcry fueled activism, inspired future civil rights leaders, and contributed to the momentum that led to landmark legislation like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The establishment of the Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley National Monument underscores the enduring impact of his story on American history and civil rights. Despite the overwhelming evidence and the public outcry, justice for Emmett Till remained elusive for decades. Following Till's murder, his alleged killers, Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam, were tried for the crime. The Tallahatchie County 2nd District Courthouse was the site where the two white men who later confessed to Till's killing were acquitted by an all-white jury. This swift acquittal illustrated the profound racial injustice prevalent in the Jim Crow South. The existence of an unserved arrest warrant for Carolyn Bryant Donham from 1955 is a key piece of evidence in the ongoing pursuit of justice for Emmett Till. This warrant, issued for her alleged involvement in Till's kidnapping, was never served at the time, reportedly because the sheriff claimed he did not want to bother her after her husband's acquittal. The discovery of this warrant in February 2023 reignited calls for justice and prompted renewed legal efforts to hold Donham accountable. However, these efforts ultimately ceased with her death in April 2023 at the age of 88. With Carolyn Bryant Donham's death, direct legal avenues to prosecute her for her role in Emmett Till's death have effectively closed, as criminal charges cannot be pursued against a deceased person. This does not erase the historical record or the ongoing pursuit of historical accountability. The focus now shifts to ensuring that the truth of what happened is preserved, that educational efforts continue, and that the legacy of Emmett Till and his mother's fight for justice is honored. The legacy of Emmett Till is not only preserved in historical accounts and legal battles, but also in physical monuments that mark the sites of his tragic story. These memorials, however, have faced significant challenges, including repeated acts of vandalism and threats to their protection. At Graball Landing along the Tallahatchie River, where Till's body was found, a monument has been targeted multiple times. The first sign was stolen, its replacement was shot 317 times, and a third sign was defaced. Eventually, a bulletproof sign was installed to withstand these attacks. The monuments related to Emmett Till's legacy include not only Graball Landing but also the Tallahatchie County 2nd District Courthouse, where his killers were acquitted, and Robert's Temple in Chicago, where his funeral was held. These sites are significant because they mark crucial locations in the tragic story of Emmett Till and the subsequent fight for civil rights. They are targeted by vandalism, often by white supremacists, because they represent a painful history of racial injustice and serve as reminders of the ongoing struggle for racial equality. The vandalism is an attempt to erase or diminish the memory of these events and their historical significance. President Biden designated new sites as part of the Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley National Monument, including Graball Landing and the Tallahatchie County 2nd District Courthouse. These sites, now federal property, will receive funding from the National Park Service, and any future vandalism would be investigated by federal law enforcement. The vulnerability of these sacred sites is further exacerbated by broader policy changes concerning national monuments. A new policy from the Trump administration, based on a Justice Department legal opinion, gives presidents the ability to revoke or shrink certain national monuments. This move is seen by some as part of an increasingly irrational movement against diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Antiquities Act of 1906 grants presidents the authority to designate national monuments to protect historic landmarks, historic and prehistoric structures, and other objects of historic or scientific interest. While the act provides for the creation of monuments, it does not explicitly grant presidents the power to revoke or significantly shrink existing ones. However, some past administrations have interpreted the act to allow for such changes, leading to legal challenges and debates. The implications for civil rights monuments under such policies are significant, as it could potentially undermine efforts to preserve and commemorate crucial sites of American history, including those related to the civil rights movement. Critics of policies that allow for the revocation or shrinking of national monuments, particularly those related to civil rights, often argue that such actions whitewash or rewrite American history. They contend that these policies diminish the recognition of difficult or uncomfortable aspects of the nation's past, especially those concerning racial injustice and oppression. The threat to Till's monuments comes at a time when many believe the Trump administration is trying to erase iconic figures like Harriet Tubman and Medgar Evers from America's story. President Trump has previously advocated for a more positive curriculum that de-emphasizes historical stains like slavery and Jim Crow. However, former National Park Service Director Chuck Sams stated that while people may not like to look at negative aspects of their past, learning from past mistakes is essential for growth. Copyright African Elements.